Hello everybody, it's Sab here, just getting my coffee ready, got my cold drink as well, and welcome to the Infinite Creativity Satsang, now with added irreverence apparently, if you look in the top left hand corner. So I'm looking something like this today, and I'd like to welcome you to this little moment that we have on a Sunday evening. For me, it's a Sunday evening here in the outskirts of Paris. For you, it might be, well, if you're in the States or South America, it might be beginning of the afternoon, or maybe sometime in the morning, late morning. If you're in Australia, I'm sorry, Australia, New Zealand, maybe it's kind of a lost cause right now, because I'm doing this at the end of my week, which is the end of Sunday. And for you guys, I think it's already Monday morning, or it will be in a few hours. So unfortunately, it doesn't work well for you guys, but I'll do some others at a different time if anybody shows any interest. So here I am. I've got my coffee as usual. I've got my fresher drink, because it's quite warm out there. It's 22 degrees C here in the suburbs of Paris, in a little town. And we're in lockdown at the moment, so I snuck out for a little walk, try and get some fresh air, maybe a little bit of inspiration, enjoy the spring, all on my own almost. I did a little video for a new group that I've started, which is called, let me show you. It's the one I didn't put up on the screen. So I will tell you as I'm typing. It's called Today's the Day, and the idea for this little group is that yeah, I'm going to bring it in there. No, that's not it, is it? It's coming. Yeah, so the idea for this little group, which is a new group, you know, I like creating groups, is that you make every day count. And every day I'm going to put a new banner with my photograph of the day. Today it's a picture of something to do with La Bastille, from a metro station in Paris called Bastille. And I say make it count, and there's a sun to signify your day, the beginning of the day if you like, and then there's a moon which signifies the end of your day. And the idea of this little group is that every day, or whenever you like, you can put a little sentence, or even an image, or why not a video, starting with today's the day, and talk about something significant you did. And I think that we often don't realize how quickly our lives run away with us. We're not aware of the good moments that are going to make up our lives. So the idea for this group is that we are aware on a small scale, on a modest scale, and yet you put all those a day. It's not such a small space of time as we perceive it. You can do plenty of things in a day, and the idea is that we make a note of one of them each day, and in that way we're more aware of doing significant things, having significant days, and also realizing that our days are our lives. So by the end, hopefully, of all of our days, we'll be able to say, my goodness, yeah, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. It was just one long stream of really good things, day after day after day. So all you have to do is note it down. Sharing is nice as well. We're social beings. So I don't think it's being anything in particular to share it. I think that makes it stronger. We don't live in isolation. We interact. We need to interact with others. So what nicer than sharing our special moments, the things we want to remember our days for, and sharing them with others, which of course will inspire others. Sharing these days, especially, I don't know, when you get to my age, I'm not that old, but I'm not that young. There's less and less interested in doing things so that people think I'm great. It's more about doing things so that people feel that everything's great. That becomes more and more important, I think, as you go on. I recently heard something. I'll probably mention these things again and again, you know, from week to week. But I like the idea that we can divide our lives into two parts. The first part is the getting part. You don't realize that there's anything else really apart from you. You are the center of your universe. When you start to think that you're separate from others, you also almost simultaneously believe that you are the center of the universe. That may be true, but we are social beings. So there comes a second point in life after you've accumulated all along the sort of me philosophy. There seems to come this switch where you stop thinking like that. Not always, not everyone. And you start to think us, and you start to want to give instead of get. And funnily enough, in giving, you get lots, or you seem to. So it's this idea of, yeah, you're saying what good things you did in your life, but in doing that, you're inspiring others to make the most of their days as well. So that's one of my creations for this week. Today's the day. It's a group that you can join, and you can say what you do every day that makes it a worthwhile day, or that will make it a worthwhile day, or that did make it a worthwhile day. So you can do it in the morning, and you start with, today's the day I will, or I do something. Or if it's in the evening afterwards and you want to remember that, you say, today's the day I did this significant thing. So that's quite a nice way to start, actually. My today's the day, I've already done it. I just did it. It was today's the day I make a video for my Today's the Day group, the first video. And of course I started it saying, hello everyone, whereas I'd said that everything has to start with today's the day. So there you go. Perfection in imperfection, isn't there? Not that I really believe in either of those words. So let me come back to the idea of this. What's it all about? What are we doing here? What's the point of it all? Well, this is intended to be a little pause during the week. For me, it's at the end of my week. If you want to look at weeks in that way, that's the way we kind of look at things. It's a moment of coming together with nothing really to do. You don't have to come for the whole 2 hours. You don't have to come for any time at all, of course. Or you can just come for 2 minutes. And that's fine. It doesn't matter. And I intend to talk about a huge variety of things. You can ask me anything. The theme of these is creativity. So I call it the infinite creativity satsang. And I choose creativity simply because it's just a word. There's lots of words and they're all invented and they all mean different things to different people. But I've chosen creativity because I like it. And I like it because I like the idea of creativity. I like the idea that being creative on a regular basis is a great way to feel that we're leading a worthwhile, enriching, and generous life. And it's very linked to the Today's the Day group. If we make something on a certain day, that will be the day we made that certain thing on. And it gives us some sort of feeling that we're doing something, we're existing. You could say that once I'm gone, that thing will still be there. So which is a kind of immortality in a way, which we sort of yearn for, I think. We'd kind of quite like to believe that there was something else after our allotted time span that we carry on in some way or another. And I'm sure we do. And you can look at it in many different ways. But one of the ways is to create stuff that will be there in the form that we created it, probably after we're not in the form we are now anymore. So that's why I chose that word. It could have been anything, couldn't it? But I like that one. And there's other people that go on about the meaning of life and, you know, let's meditate, let's breathe together, let's do this, let's do that, let's paint, let's run, let's cook. And for me, it's let's create, or let's talk about creativity. It's a big subject though, because you can create anything. That's why I like photography and I like writing so much, because you can point your camera at anything, any aspect of life. And you can write, you can point your pen or your keyboard maybe at any aspect of life. So that's why I like those two activities in particular. But they're still kind of random, you know. I insist what I do is just kind of random. It just happens to be that. Could have been other things. It's not better, it's not worse, it's than anything else, than anything you're doing. But at least, I say at least, that's my value. At least I'm doing something. I'm not just accepting everything that comes to me and sort of including the bad stuff and sort of absorbing it without producing anything. I mean, I kind of do think you should accept things as they are. That's about enjoying the present moment, whatever it is, whatever it seems to be, whatever it brings. But what I'm really getting at is creating as well as consuming. I mean, when I watch a TV program, which happens occasionally, I'm thinking, well, I'm consuming. But those people there are creating. Someone created this stuff that I'm consuming. So I'm kind of participating in their consuming. If I wasn't there to consume, there wouldn't be anyone for them to create for. So that's good. And you do need to absorb other stuff. But if you're only consuming and you're not creating anything, that's where I draw my line. That's where I think the balance has got out of kilter, as it were. I decided to give it a name, and I called it, let me see if I can bring up a few things on the screen for us to look at. I called this one That's not it. That's me talking. What did I call it? I called it how to get good at anything fast. I think I called it. There we are. And I'm live, you see. How to get good at anything with the blurb. And that's what I'd like to talk about. So I'd like to talk about how to get good at anything. And I don't know what you're expecting, and I don't know what I'm going to say. But I do have this kind of theory. Let me put something pretty on the screen. I do have this kind of theory that there's a process of steps towards mastery of something, whatever mastery might mean. Let me just say that you can ask questions. If anyone's watching, then there is a comments. You can ask questions or make comments underneath, and I would love to hear from you and to answer any questions you might have. So maybe I should put a little, do I have, yeah, here we are. Creativity questions in comments on facebook.com/𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, please. Right, so do ask me questions. That would be nice. The idea of this, which I call a satsang, not a satsang. A satsang exists, and it's where someone has something to share, and then they will take questions and discuss those questions. And above all, make the people themselves who ask the question, ask themselves more questions so they get clear. So it's not so much about someone who knows stuff, who just wants to give. And if people listen carefully enough, they might, if they're lucky, grab it. It's more about sharing around a topic and then seeing what comes up. So questions can be asked and they can be discussed, but the answers won't come from the so-called answer. The answers will come from what gets stirred around. So a typical satsang is that it's someone, often they're a spiritual type of person, and they talk about something and people ask questions and spiritual ideas about life, the universe and everything get thrown around. And maybe people end up seeing more clearly what they think their life is about, or even who they are. I wanted to do something different because my thing's creativity. So I thought, well, satsang exists. I don't like doing things that already exist. Having said that, I am kind of taking the same format. So I said, well, I'll call it Sabsang, because my first name that I use, it's only a name, is Sab. So I thought I would create Sabsang in the name of creativity, in the name of trying to be original. But is there originality? Well, I don't know really, because what is creativity? For me, it's taking something all the influences that you've had already, things that people have done already, and being open to those, seeking them out. People have done amazing things. Let's enjoy those. Let's read about them. Let's listen to them. But then let something happen in your brain or whatever with a very good sprinkling of the universe coming in. In other words, you having an idea. Who knows where it came from? But ideas will come if you're open to them and you're open to other stuff. You're open to leading interesting lives. Ideas will come and you will then be called, as it were, or pushed to create new stuff which hasn't existed in that form before. But there will be influences from all sorts of things. But the thing you create won't be the same as anything else that's ever existed. And that's this. That's what this is. It's an example. I'm calling it the infinite creativity 𝗬𝗪𝗓. I haven't seen the word 𝗬𝗪𝗓 before. I haven't existed in this form before. I don't know anyone else called 𝗬𝗪. And to be honest, I hope that this is original. I don't think it's, but on the same level as if you started a new Facebook Live, you called it something funny that hasn't been used by anyone else, and you started talking. That would be utterly unique as well. And that's what I encourage people to do. In all humbleness or in all majesty, in all infinite creativity, create new stuff. It can only be a good thing. So yeah, I have this kind of theory on what the process is to achieving mastery in anything. It's a kind of tin pot theory, but I think I've got the right to have my own theories as much as anyone else. Please tell me what yours are. And it's a 3-part process. And this, it's not been said before. It's standard stuff. But I'm saying it now and today, and you're listening to it now and today. So that's new, isn't it? So it's a 3-part process. The first is when you try and do something new, you're crap, but you have a go. You're crap because you don't know how to do it. Crap's like a value judgment, i.e. not very good. Well, not very good in relation to what? To who? To what standard? To what governing body? You're trying to learn a bike. You're 2 and you fall off. Are you crap? Are you really crap? Or are you just learning to ride a bike and that's how you learn? Well, that's the first step, I think. It's having a go and you haven't got a clue what you're doing. I talked about this in the context of my photography class that I'm doing. I said, because photography has lots of rules, so-called rules, which are designed to help you take better photographs. And one of them is actually called the rule of thirds. And the idea is you put the subject of the photograph, it's a person, don't put them in the middle, put them off to the side or off to the other side. And that's like a third in from one side or a third in from the other. That's a rule. Well, it's called a rule of thirds. A rule is a funny word because I don't really believe in rules. What is a rule? For a rule to exist and have any meaning, there has to be some body behind it backing it up. In other words, if you break it, there has to be a consequence. You could say that if you break the rule of thirds and you put the subject of a photograph in the middle, there aren't going to be that many consequences, and certainly there isn't going to be some governing body or the law throwing you in prison. You might be laughed at by people who think the rule is not to be broken or whatever. But the breaking of the rule might mean that your photograph is not as beautifully composed as it might be. That's possible. But anyway, the first step is no rules, but you're having a go anyway. But you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea. And that's actually a time of real innocence, real joy, real pleasure, because no one is telling you what to do. No one is suggesting you should be doing things a certain way. Let me get a little bigger, perhaps, or even very big. No one is suggesting that you're doing it wrong. You're innocent. It's like a babe trying something for the first time. A child playing. Is there a right way to play and a wrong way? Well, Yeah, if you listen to some people, you think there is, you know, don't do it that way, and especially don't get dirty, don't make a mess, don't. Basically, don't have fun, don't do it any way that bugs me in the slightest. For many people, that's the rules of play for a child. But for the child, there aren't any. They don't understand feelings of ideas of right and wrong, failure and success. They don't care if they look stupid because they don't understand what that means. They don't compare themselves to others. It's just a wonderful moment of discovery. Then, bam, along come rules. And when rules come along, all of a sudden we get self-conscious. We might learn better ways to do things, or, you know, we might learn things faster. You might learn, if someone tells you as you're riding a bike to lean in as you're turning, and you won't fall off, or you'll fall off less and you'll be more stable. That takes a bit of believing, because it doesn't sound right, does it? Well, if you lean and you're on two wheels, you're going to fall off, but not if you're moving and going quite fast. So you might learn that and hear enough people saying that you give it a go. Might be the same with, I don't know, a windsurfing technique, for example, that sounds scary and stuff, but if enough people tell you it or teach you it, you'll give it a go, you'll see it works, and then great. So you've learned something. So for the rule of thirds, for example, in photography, you might not realize that, well, I mean, like, I was going to say grandmothers, that's not very nice, is it? I just seem to remember my grandmother always saying, you know, stand in the middle and smile. Well, for portrait shots, you don't put people in the middle, and you don't ask them to smile. So, you know, what's going on here? Well, grandmother's doing it spontaneously. She wants you smiling because that's how she knows you. She wants you in the middle because she wants to see you clearly. That's the only thing she worries about. But if you start getting artistic, well, yeah, actually, if you put someone off to the side and they're kind of looking towards the bit of space here, and there's something else in the middle, and they're not smiling, you know, looking contemplative, actually you get more of a true version of the person. And maybe you even see more deeply into them than some sort of fixed grin. So rules are helping. Learn the rules. And there's a ton of photography rules, and I'm in the process of teaching them to a bunch of people right now. But that's the second step. Learn the rules. Why not? That's kind of what we do, isn't it? But that you're not yet at mastery. You're at a kind of competence. And then the next step is to go further. Now, just if you've just joined me, or you're just joining in at any old random area, random time, the topic that I did say I would cover, and this is kind of random, and it could be anything, and it could move on to something else, is I kind of pretentiously named this how to get good at anything. So that's what I'm trying to cover here. So you have a go without any clue. Then you learn some rules. Things seem to get better. This is the beginning of competence, but it's also the beginning of entering a prison. Because when you enter the prison of rules, of accepted behavior, of standard practices, of best practices, it's all very well, and you might please some people or not rock boats, but you're also entering a prison of the mind. Because as soon as you've learned a rule and you see that it pleases people, that you follow it, you're kind of stuck. Because now you don't want to please people, you don't want to surprise people. You know, the minute you try and do something a bit different, like let's say putting a subject in the middle of a picture again, after you've learned that it's more aesthetically pleasing to put it off to the side, people will start saying things like, "But what are you doing? I thought you learned that. I thought you were a bit more intelligent than that. You know, we covered that last week. You know, I thought that should be kind of acquired knowledge now. You were actually trying to be inventive and break the rule and not do it the same way. But now there's a whole load of societal pressure for you to, once you've learned the rules, to keep doing them so that we can all sleep easier. You've got it. You know what it is to conform and all the rest of it, which is terrible for artists or for anyone who's trying to be creative in life, actually, because you're stuck now. You're stuck in this prison of conformity. And art, true art, is about non-conformity. True creativity is about doing things that haven't been done before. How can I put it any other way? Create. You can't create something that's already been created. Otherwise you're copying, or you're repeating, or you're faking or forging, or any other word but creativity will work for that. You might feel that what you're doing is a kind of a mixture. You're following someone's technique, but you're doing it yourself on a different subject. Yeah, sure. That's still kind of in the following the rules way of looking at things. But it's a step towards true creativity. Maybe you can't be 100% original, because if you paint a picture, you're still doing what millions of other people have already done in life, taking paint on a brush, putting it on a canvas. That doesn't sound that original. You are doing it in a unique way. No one has ever done it like that before. Your brushstroke has never existed before you do it. It's unique. You're creating it. You're creating that mark. So, rest assured, you're being creative. But if you are doing that, copying something or trying to follow a technique or be like someone else, you're only being half creative, I would say. But it's necessary. It's necessary. Don't let that, what I just said, stop you from doing it. Do it. And the more you do it, and this is going to come on to my answer, the more you do it, the answer to how to get good at anything, the more you do it, the better you'll get. And so the final stage is do your own thing. Break the rules and do your own thing. And that's it. Those are the 3 steps. If you haven't learned the rules, you haven't got anything to break, and you haven't got that kind of foundation of solid practice and some basics in any discipline to go further. It's like learning scales in music. There are some people who are purely spontaneous and intuitive. They can go without learning anything to being a genius. But a lot of people have done a lot of stuff, and it's fun to learn. So don't feel that you have to. You have to say, I don't learn anything. Nobody teaches me anything. I do it all on my own. You don't have to do that. You can learn. It's fun to learn. There's this 3rd stage, though, where you start to move away from the rules. I know a lot of people, including myself, who are continually investing in new courses or buying new books, if you like. New ways to be even better, or to be better because the last one that told you you'd be better didn't work. And we fall into this trap, this treadmill of self-development courses or art courses or how to write a book course or anything courses. As long as you're taking courses, you're absorbing and you're consuming, and you're not creating. And the danger is, these are good things. They're part of step 2, learning the rules, learning what the wisdom of those who have gone before. But the huge danger is you never think you're ready. You always think you need just one more course, one more book, one more period of time before next Monday when you will really start. That's the danger. You never start. So that's what my group, Today's the Day, is about. And it's also my answer to today's random theme, which is how to get good at anything. Let me bring back old Leroy Brown. There it is. So my Today's the Day group is about doing stuff today. It's about doing stuff today. I've got a comment. Someone saying hello. 𝗜𝗡𝗙𝗧𝗜. Hey, 𝗜𝗡𝗙𝗧𝗜. Nice to see you. I wanted to ask you something about your diet masterclass or course or whatever it is. I'll talk to you later about that. And so my Today's the Day group is very much about that. It's about doing something significant today, creating something, not just consuming, creating as well. And I think the balance is to do less and less consuming and more creating. I'm still consuming, but I'm moving away. And I'm finding that the more I create, the more excited I get about it, and the less I want to consume. I'm actually investing in less and less online courses, believe it or not. And what am I doing? I'm creating online courses. So some poor folks, no, some very lucky folks down the line are consuming my courses, and I hope more and more people will. But I'm at this phase where I want to create things for other people who are in the other stages to consume, of course. But I'm creating stuff which is inciting them to be as creative as possible. So I kind of cover my tail there. So I want to just answer this question that I started, and it's how to get good at anything. You ready for the answer? You ready for it? And this comes actually, apart from anything else, directly from one person that I know who was having problems doing something creative. And the problem was, quite simply, I don't think what I'm doing is quite good enough yet. I'm just going to wait until I've just thought about it for a bit more. Or I think it was doing online videos. Think about it just a little bit more. And I think there's just this technique that I want to know. I think it was just a piece of software that would allow this person to make her videos look more professional, like with professional editing and sorting out the lighting and also putting subtitles. Then my videos will be worth putting on Facebook or YouTube or wherever. Until then, you know, they're just not there. They're not ready. And that's why she wasn't producing videos. She wasn't creating content. She wasn't getting her voice out there. And the answer to how to get good at anything is very simple for me. And that is, do it. Okay, I think we're done here. So it only lasted half an hour instead of 2 hours. And I'll see you next week. I love it when, you know, the answer to a seemingly complicated problem is so simple. What are you up to today anyway? You guys, if you're on the replay, then say hi anyway. I'll catch your comments. If that's 𝗜𝗏𝗙𝗜𝗓, you can have a little chat with me. So to, you know, I'm only like 1/10 or 1/100th or 1/1,000,000th being funny. The way to get good at something is to do it. It's an utter cliche in some circles, but how is it any other way? How can you get good at riding a bike by not riding a bike? How can you get good at a language without speaking the language, if you want to be able to speak it? If you want to be good at writing it and passing exams, well, you still have to study, don't you? You still have to be in the game. You still have to be learning the rules, or you will fail the exam. But at least you're doing it, you're learning it, and then you pass the exam. You're practicing speaking, and then people will start interacting. You're on the bike, wavering, scared. Are you sure I should lean when I turn? And but that's how you learn. You don't learn by not riding the bike, I think. Okay, so 𝗜𝗏𝗙𝗜𝗓 is interacting with me. I have an interactor, an interaction. You've inspired me to resume my daily posts. Now do them on my website instead of Medium. Okay, Medium, are you talking about that place you post articles? Bite-sized ideas on diet, nutrition, lifestyle, mindset. About 100 words. So thank you for being an inspiration. You know what? You know what? That's great you said that. I'm going to do the same thing. I had this idea. It's a new idea, which I haven't started yet. I had this website name hanging around. It was basically, I think it was the first crazy website I bought name about more than 20 years ago when they just invented the internet. And I was so excited. You could buy any name, any cool name, you know, and it was like, you know, 10 euros or something. No, it wasn't even euros. It was francs. And I bought some cool names and I never did anything with them. Names that would be like thousands today. And one of them is called, well, let me bring it up, shall we? Is this going to be fun? And it's about to hit a browser near you, and it's called LazyPig.com. And I've been threatening to get it going for ages. Is it alive? Does it? I'm talking. I don't think it's live. I don't think it's live. It's going to say coming soon. Wait a minute. There it is. LazyPig.com exists. LazyPig.com. So this is, I'm I'm desperately trying to get the end of creating new stuff so that I can just get down to creating stuff on the stuff that I've already created. Anyway, I like writing, I like taking photos, I like painting. I'm trying to keep it at that. So this is a new forum to make me write more. And it's going to be, it's going to be like 100 words. It's going to be small ideas, bite-sized pieces, so that I can actually do it. So the idea is, like you, with your, hang on, so it was bite-sized ideas on diet, nutrition, lifestyle, mindset, about 100 words. That's it. And look, for me, it's the same thing, you see. Diet, nutrition, lifestyle, mindset, these are huge. What about exercise? These are huge areas. So why not? Yeah, divide them up into categories, if you like. Well, those words are kind of categories. And could be every day, couldn't it? Or every week, do one on each category. Well, 100 words, big deal. And it's new content. And also, the smaller it is, the more impactful it is if there's just one idea in there. And I think people get to know you through seeing you regularly, as opposed to a huge article every month or even every week. Who's got the time to read that? If they keep seeing you regularly, and they'll see you if they know you write about stuff that they're interested in. So do that regularly. They're not going to read everything you write. And they're not going to read what you write if they know it's long. But they will sometimes read what you write if it's presented in a fun way, it's on the topic that they're interested in, and it's short, and it has a nugget. Why not? It could be their daily bite of inspiration. So what I'm doing, that's my idea for this, you see? In my area, that's my idea. So I've got this idea for 4 categories. One is about a short article or nugget about creativity. One is about productivity. Creativity is about having the ideas and kind of starting to create. And then productivity is about doing it on a regular basis. So it actually turns into something real instead of a dream. Curiosity is, to be honest, I love the curiosity, which is called life. So I want to write about funny, aspects of life, crazy things, jokes maybe, or funny things that happen that show us how funny life is. And Infinity Bites is about the deeper stuff, maybe looking at life, the universe, and everything, why we're here, who we are, who we think we are, who we might be. Does it matter? So those are 4 areas I'm interested in, and I'm pushing myself to be creative. And I've created this framework, and I've just got to start doing it. And I want this week coming up to be the week I start doing it. And I think you're right, 𝗜𝗡𝗙𝗓, on short nuggets will be a great way to go. Yes, because when you start doing it, you find ways of improving and you go in the direction you want. Yeah, that's coming back to my answer to life, the universe, and everything. Or rather, how to get good at anything, which is the nominal name of this talk. What I want these to be are nice, relaxed, talk about anythings. Having said that, I thought it'd be nice to have a theme to start off with, and then we go any way you like. Ask me any questions you like about creativity, or even productivity, or anything else you like, and I'll talk about it. I won't answer it. I can't answer your questions. Only you can do that. But I can talk about your questions. You see what I mean? That's where you've got to be humble. I don't think anybody gives answers to anybody's questions. Only you. Often I might be somewhere and I'll ask someone a question about something they're talking about, and they'll give me an answer. And sometimes I'm so nervous about appearing to be interested in their answer, I'm actually missing everything they're saying. But in the back of my mind, they're perfectly well answering another question that I had. So questions and answers are kind of funny things. It's more about being in a context, a situation where ideas start to form and play around. So you don't even have to be listening to what I'm saying or giving it any attention or importance whatsoever, honestly. But just to be kind of in, the French say dans le bain, I think, in the bath, to be in the bath with me, throwing these ideas around That's where ideas come from. Ideas, solutions will come from, you know, up there somewhere or out there. They won't come from me. But it may be that us being in this situation where we're throwing ideas around stimulates ideas. You know, there's this nice idea that you can knock on the door and it might answer. It might answer. Hello, door. Stop knocking on me. You can be knocking on the door and it might open. But the mistake is to think that it opened because you knocked. The thing is, it might open, it might not. You might knock or you might not knock. But the thing is, if you're there knocking, at least if it does open, you're there to go through. Whether your knocking made it open or not, who knows? We haven't got a clue. So it's the idea that you're present, you're in the game, you're ready, you're there, you're ready to be in action when an idea comes. I think this goes with, I think it goes to that idea of enlightenment, sort of Buddhist enlightenment or something, where you can sit around meditating for 20 years if you like, and enlightenment may or may not come. Whatever enlightenment is. And a monk, is there some sort of story? A monk said, well, why the hell have I been doing this for 20 years? I've forgotten what the story is, but basically it's not that that meditating or any other practice will bring you enlightenment. The point is, if enlightenment decides to come along, well, if you're kind of there waiting for it, you might be able to grab a bit. But if you're off doing other things, you won't. So you needn't necessarily attach any outcome whatsoever to any given action. It may be that whilst you're doing something, a desired event may occur. But be careful about, you know, cause and effect. It's about being in the game. I like the idea of being in the game. Yeah, so be in the game, and how to get good at anything. We'll do it. Just do it again and again and again and again and again. That's how you get good at anything. Maybe you can be born good at something, but you still got to have a go, don't you? You can't say that a genius painter, maybe they've had no lessons, but they still picked up a paintbrush at some point and started putting paint on a canvas. They were in the game, and maybe they realized that what they were producing was considered by many people to be fantastic without any lessons, whereas many other people needed lessons. But that's still kind of random, isn't it? They just picked up a paintbrush and started painting. Whether 1 billion people think it's fantastic or nobody does is kind of irrelevant, and it's kind of personal and kind of subjective. And we end up judging our success and most of our lives on other people's opinions or standards, which is a complete waste of time, really. Although we're kind of constricted to do it in many ways in society. You're considered a good person if you do certain things. It's still kind of random. So yeah, you want to get good at something, do it a lot. That's it. Are you doing what you want to get good at a lot? Or are you waiting? Like my friend who is waiting until she's got a particular piece of software she's heard of that she thinks will be really good for putting videos together with all sorts of fancy effects. Plus she's getting the subtitles right and possibly doing them in several languages. And also, what else was there? Having enough, getting that qualification so she can put that at the bottom, you know, certified blah, blah, whatever. And of course, she needs to build up the confidence to do it. She doesn't feel herself. She doesn't feel that she's really her. People have watched it, her videos that she has done, and they said, it's not really you. It's not the you that we see when you're talking to us like you are now. And what does that do for her confidence? Well, it doesn't do much, to be honest, but But at least she's getting feedback. She'll take it on board. But the problem is that's now stopped her from doing as many videos. Other people's opinions, other people's, So she's comparing herself. She's comparing herself to me, for example. She says, I'm more like I am really in real life when I'm on video than she is. Comparison. Yeah, but I know people who are more like they are. Well, to be honest, I don't really know many people who both do videos and I know personally. But I know people who are far more relaxed than I am and spontaneous and all the rest of it on video. What do? Give up? I don't want to give up. I like it. I like doing this. So the thing is, I said to her, well, you know what? I did this course on learning to speak in public. To be honest, I don't. I just speak to the camera. I'm not with anyone, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Or am I? Well, that's the question. If you're watching this on the replay, am I really with you or not? Is that something I should be worrying about? What you think about me in some future time that doesn't even exist? It's kind of weird, isn't it, what we worry about? But the thing is, you get good by doing something. You don't wait until you're good at doing something before doing it. It doesn't work that way. You get good at something by doing it. And anyway, what does being good at something mean? You see? You can just say that doesn't mean anything and then it doesn't matter. I just do videos. That's it. I do videos. I don't compare my videos to anyone else's. I don't compare the video I'm doing today. I'm going to go and compare it to yesterday's and just check for, discrepancies or possible, oh, I was better there. I didn't say so many times. I don't do it. I don't watch my old videos. Why the hell would I? I'm too busy creating new ones. So I would encourage anyone, you, anyone, me, to create more, worry less about anything else. And you'll find that your life seems to get better because you're just living in the present. You're living in a moment of creativity, wonderful creativity, where you're too busy to worry about anything else. And when you go into creativity, when you create something, it's exciting. Our brains, have you noticed, our brains are made to switch off external influences and disturbances when we've started creating something. It's like a miracle happens. Plus ideas come to us. We don't know where from. And then we come out of it and we've created something really cool. Well, we think it is, and therefore it is, as far as I'm concerned. If we're pleased with the result, we don't have to go any further. Then we can share it. And some people will like it, and that's their problem. And some people will hate it. That's also their problem. Or their delight. It works both ways. It works always. It just doesn't matter, though. It doesn't mean anything about you. It really doesn't. If I wanted to show you some of my creative stuff, but I'm going off on a huge rant here. If you like a piece of music, does that mean the piece of music itself is great? No. Well, yes. Well, kind of, for you. But if someone else hates it, does that mean it's crap? Well, no. Well, yes, kind of, for them. So, we worry about stuff that it's absolutely pointless worrying about. Utterly pointless. Just create stuff. Create good stuff. Enjoy doing it. Put it out there and move on to the next thing. You'll get loads of people coming to you saying that they enjoyed it. And because most people enjoy saying that they enjoyed something. That gives them pleasure saying it, gives you pleasure to get it. I think a lot more people, good people, enjoy saying that they liked something than saying they didn't like it. And if you have people that say they don't like it, wow, for a start, poor them, but that's not my problem. And secondly, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. If they say they don't like it, actually, it's not that they don't. If they say they don't like it, that means something. It means they don't like it. But if they say what you did is crap, that doesn't mean anything. Zero. So there we go. I'm going to show you some stuff I've created, and you can look at it. So I told you this is coming, didn't I? I'm really excited about this. More chances to throw out little nuggets about life, the universe, and pink pigs by the looks of it. LazyPig.com. This is Today's the Day. Join the group. Today's the Day. It's wonderful. You'll enjoy leading your life day to day. This is a thing that I'm still working on. It's called 𝗫𝗏𝗡𝗫 Connective. And I've got a new project coming up this week. Starting this week, it'll get into full production next week. I put my puzzle pieces up for adoption. And I'm going to associate this project with a project for Australia, which is going to be called Burnt Paw, the Burnt Paw Project. And I'm going to do a series of these paintings. I think I'm going to do 9. And they're going to have a kind of Australia theme. Kangaroo paw is the name of a plant which is native to Western Australia. I lived in Western Australia for 1 year, so I have a connection. I'm going to call it the Burnt Paw Project because it's to raise some money to plant plants for the country and for the fauna, the animals which needed those plants to eat, to live. So the emblem, and kangaroos of course suffered. It's the most emblematic animal of Australia, I guess. And there's a plant called kangaroo paw, and it looks like a kangaroo paw, kind of. Let's see if I can find an image. Kangaroo paw images. Absolutely beautiful plant. See, it looks like this. You know, isn't that beautiful? And I need to make it bigger. So, okay, well. So I'm going to call it the Kangaroo Burnt Paw Project, because a lot of kangaroos did burn their paws in this terrible fires that they had. Oh, there's even what a fantastic photograph. Oh, wow. There's a bee or something in flight about to land, it looks like, on one of those. That is amazing. And yeah, so the idea, why would I do this? What's the point? Why Australia? Haven't I got anything better to do closer to home? Well, you know, it's not about doing this as opposed to helping people in my town deliver food to old people, or starving children in Africa, which is a popular one, or a popular guilt trip, especially for kids who don't eat their food. It's because it's about doing something rather than nothing. And I think that is far more important than doing this rather than doing that. If you see everyone as connected, which I seem to, because I've created this thing called 𝗫𝗏𝗡𝗫 Connective, if you consider we're all connected, it doesn't really matter what you do. It's about it's that you do something. And some people seem to do more than others. Some people seem to do things which seem more or less important than other things they could do. This will always be the case. And it's always about comparison. But I try not to worry about that. I do like the idea of doing something for others, which is kind of for myself, because we're connected, than nothing. Do something rather than nothing. So how do you choose? Well, I choose because it's someone I know. Someone I know lives in Australia. I only know them by internet. Lives in Australia. I lived in Australia for a year as a kid. There's a kind of bond there, a personal bond. And I like kangaroos, so they're cute. And this person did this kind of heartfelt plea for trees, planting trees in Australia. So that's good enough for me. I didn't have anyone else putting out a heartfelt plea at that moment. And I saw a way of integrating what I do with this project, the 𝗫𝗏𝗡𝗫 Connective project, where people adopt a square as part of a bigger picture so they feel connected to people all around the world. Linking that to my friend in Australia who wants to plant more trees for the animals and everything that suffered in the fires. That's good enough for me. What more reason do you need? And to be honest, if it hadn't been that, it would probably be nothing. So there you go. So starting next week, I'm going to start putting out teasers, little cards of this sort of size with the burnt paw project on them, and telling them that this is coming, with my terrible picture of a kangaroo paw plant, probably. And then I'm going to do a 9-day project on me creating the pictures. And then I'm going to put the picture pieces up for auction. So they'll be up to, 9 times 9, 81 picture pieces up for auction. The adoption fee is €9 plus a little bit for postage to wherever you are. So it's about €12. You have a really exceptional, unique piece of art that is about this big. It's like this. It's a little piece of art like this, or like this. Or I don't know what the style is going to be like. The style changes, you see, changes all the time. It has things embedded. It's got texture. It's got lines. Sometimes it's got jigsaw pieces, part of a jigsaw piece, because it connects up like that, you see. It's my art. It's Infinity Squared art. And I'm going to do this theme. So you'll be able to adopt up to, well, you can't adopt 81 of them, but there will be 81 of these pieces to adopt. And the money, the adoption fees from that will go to planting trees in Australia. So that's a nice project, I think. So, get involved. Get involved. I get involved in projects. You get involved in projects. That's that sort of, love makes the world go round and all the rest of it. Let me show you some of my photographs from this week's output on the When Lady Eiffel Smiles project. This is what I do every day. Remember when I said, how do you get good at something? Well, do it. Remember, good is only a comparison. Good only means anything in relation to something else that isn't as good in your mind. But it might not be the case in somebody else's mind, you see. If you prefer somebody's paintings from their later years rather than their early years, you might think that they got better. If you prefer a band's early albums as opposed to their later ones, you might think they got worse. Whereas the band themselves have actually got more experience behind them than they had before. But you might hate their latest album and love their old ones. Well, go figure. It's this sort of comparison, which is fun, but it doesn't mean anything. So the whole sentence, how to get good at anything, is faulty, except when you start comparing. And our whole world is built on comparison. So you might it might give you great satisfaction to feel that you're progressing, but all you're doing really is creating more and more output. If that gives you satisfaction, great. I love doing this. I love every day playing with a photograph. I love every day writing a text and trying to do it creatively. I love trying to put my text on my photographs in a new way. It's fun. Doesn't mean anything, but I feel that I'm building up a collection of photographs. That's fun. I enjoy that. It's what it is. It's what it is. So, for example, that one, I was really excited with this one yesterday. It was actually slightly out of order because sometimes when I'm more inspired by a photograph a little bit further down the grid, I sometimes skip one because I'm not ready. So in this case, for this very striking photograph, I wasn't ready. I wanted to do some sort of poem and it wasn't ready for the day. So I did the others and then I came back to this yesterday and I was ready. And I ended up with this weird text. I'll read it. Why not? I don't know what it is. It's kind of a poem, kind of not, kind of linked to today, kind of linked to any time. We're abstract it's called Riddle Me Ree. I invented that afterwards, not before. We're abstract mystics living in distracted times. Signals and signs wriggle and jiggle in search of desperately disjointed rhymes. I've forgotten what the cadence was, the rhythm, so you have to forgive me. Signals and signs wriggle and jiggle in search of desperately disjointed rhymes. I'm the jigsaw man, fitting in here and there where I can. Pieces missing from old battered boxes, still doing fine. There was a rhythm to this, I've completely lost it. The game's on the line, but you've got to keep playing. Playing in kind, No, it's paying in kind, suffering cipher sublime. We're peacefully hissing and dissing, cunning as foxes and shattered as crime. Paying in kind, suffering cipher sublime. We're peacefully hissing and dissing, cunning as foxes and shattered as crime. There was a rhythm to this, guys, and I've got no idea what it was now. Once the shadow man, slave to sunshine, now the piper deals runes intertwined, ruse the blues, and the greens dance divine. If you're missing the plans to this puzzle, with instructions garbled and mind in a muddle, well done and befuddle-de-duddle, you're starting to see that a kiss and a cuddle are all the distractions we need, and the rules a rather strange breed indeed. Grab a tarot card, take any phrase, and follow it true for the rest of your days. Grab a tarot card, take any phrase, and follow it true for the rest of your days. In a chaotic land full of abstraction pure, of its randomness you can be sure. Disaster in terms of reading it, and yet I have no worries these days of letting you see that, because why should I? What does it matter? So that was I'm not sure what that is, if I'm going to give it any name. I'm going to put it in my poem section on mysticrhythms.com. Having said that, you know, it was kind of a brain dump, kind of a weird thing. There were sections in it where I thought this is utter garbled garbage, and at other points I thought, yeah, but any words put together in any order are also utter garbage, unless, for example, if you don't know the language, it's garbage, isn't it? It's garbled. So I thought, go with it, just do it. It represents yesterday. That was yesterday, a moment in time, on a photo in time, and it is what it is. So that was, I'm actually very happy with it. I love it. It's just so nuts, so crazy. And the way I put it on this photograph, which is really, it's only a bunch of steps in a railway station, you know. Down at the bottom, on that bottom left-hand corner is a disc. Forget the credit there, the copyright thing. There's a disc and it says Chinois, which means Chinese in French. And up these steps are the numbers in Chinese, I think. And you go along these steps. It's at a rather modern train station called Bibliothèque François Mitterrand in Paris. They've got all sorts of strange little plaques and thingies, especially these discs with snippets of poetry on. Maybe I'll put one of my Riddle Me Ree poem on one day, who knows? Especially if I sneak down and stick it when they're not looking. And there's different countries and languages, numbers. There's Arabic, there's English, and all along these steps going down them. It's kind of funny. And Chinois, I happen to take that, and we talk a lot about China at the moment because they say that's where the coronavirus started. So I don't know if there's any symbolism there. You can invent some if you like. It looks like almost like an arrow, doesn't it? Going that way. Very, very strange, strong photograph. This one I'm really fond of as well. I've got this thing about still lifes in cafes and tea rooms in Paris. And I love those heavy cast iron teapots from China. Hey, it's another Chinese collection. Maybe I can find another one. Ever since I discovered my favorite tea shop, which is called Le Valentin, in the Passage Geoffroy in Paris, one of those lovely covered passages. And I wrote a poem in that tea room. It was a fantasy called Stains, a fantasy about the waitress. You can find it on mysticrhythms.com. And ever since then, I've just been absolutely charmed by them. And anywhere I go, I ask for a tea, I hope they're going to be served in these heavy things. Then I've played around with it. This one is actually quite strange. It's a tea room, which the walls are draped in handmade jewelry. And even the table that you have your meal on is actually a tray full of jewelry that you can look at and be tempted to buy. And it's done artisanal jewelry. It's done by people, you know, buying things, putting them together, stringing them together. It's really nice. So that's I really like that one as well. Really atmospheric. This one was funny. This is well, you can read the text, but basically you sit on the train in Paris, the doors have closed, and very often in Paris you've got someone on there who's asking for money. And this person who is going away from me was coming towards me. This woman of a certain age, as they say in French, which basically means an elderly or a not completely young woman, was coming towards me, absolutely draped in silver sequins. Plus the slightly disturbingly short skirt or dress that she's wearing. She was heavily made up. Someone who's like this often doesn't have the same sort of social barriers that others have, so she might end up in your face talking at you or to you, engaging you in conversation. Of course, that's excruciatingly embarrassing. With all the others on the train, half cringing, half desperately thankful that it wasn't them. And anyway, you go on from there and see what happens. So anyway, she came down the carriage, and I wanted to get a photograph, but I didn't want to take it sort of in her face, because that might have sort of incited who knows what. And also, in some cases, I try not to show people's faces. So I got a photograph of her going away, which isn't quite as spectacular, but maybe it's better that way. I like the guy. He looks like he's kind of, don't talk, don't move. If I don't move and I don't breathe, she won't talk to me, which is quite funny. I gave her €1 for her troubles. Anyone who is on the train asking for money, maybe they deserve it, whatever deserving something means. She's got a certain look to her, a certain character. She was friendly. She was smiling. She was talking loudly, but that's what they often do. She was dressed head to toe, apart from her legs and her thighs, in silver sequins. I mean, where do you go from there? You don't know what their lives are, and that's part of a photographer and a writer's thing, isn't it? Worrying about what their lives are like, and whether they're happy or not as happy as we are, and what we should do with them, if anything. Should we avoid them? Should we talk to them? Very interesting. This was a funny one for me, anyway. Occasionally, I try to be funny, and in the text I set this up as being, I'm going to show you the least known but the most impressive Paris light show, the one you are most happy to find on any given night, to find that it's lit up, that it's working. And people are thinking, oh wow, it's some great monument that we haven't discovered yet. And in fact, it's discovering, as you arrive desperate for a pee in front of one of these sort of toilet pod things, that the light is green. Oh my God, I can't tell you how many times it hasn't been, and I wish it had been. You've got orange, which is occupied. You might think that's a good sign, because at least it means it's working, but it's not necessarily a good sign, because it might be someone has decided to sleep in there for the night, complete with all their millions of bags and stuff. The blue one is good, very optimistic. Lavage, that means it's being washed. Theoretically, there's no one in there, and very soon the light will go green. Red is obviously the worst, because it means it's out of service, and you think, fuck, because you had this sort of major hope when you see the cabin that it's going to be working, and then when it isn't, it's like, your problem ain't gone nowhere. So that's a kind of funny one. Posters on Paris walls. They could be anything, and this is what they are in this one. A couple of pin-ups from another era, actually. It does make you wonder who puts them up on the walls, what it means, why. You got a bit of the Paris sign there. You can see it's. Actually, I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to get rid of that top little bit in case it makes it bigger, make the screen bigger. Yeah, I mean, you wonder who does it. Well, you wonder who does it, why anyone does anything, don't you? What does any graffiti or any street art at all mean? Why do people do it? Maybe you don't have to worry about that. We often ask questions that have no meaning whatsoever or have no importance. It's done. There it is. Deal with it. Enjoy it. Don't enjoy it. If not, move on. I enjoy it. I like people expressing themselves in whatever way they choose to do it, as long as it doesn't hurt others. People want to put those posters up on the wall. Well, it's made the wall brighter. It's given me a photograph, and I'm now talking about it with you, and you are listening to this, obviously. So that person's idea to put those things up there is now directly affecting your life. And this one here, La Bastille. I played around with it, put a funny effect on it. It's rather nice. It's in a train station. It's on the walls, which is pretty cool. And I just wrote about that. That's today's. And I'm going to see what I wrote about it. The friendly French greeting and question, ça va, literally means, does it go? Or is it going? When you meet someone in France, ça va, ça va, it's a friendly greeting. It means, does it go? Is it going? Strangely, I remember my Scottish parents using a related term when I was young. I need to go. For my old folks, this meant to the toilet. I need to go to the toilet. The origins of the Gaelic expression are a literal inquiry after the functioning of your waste expulsion system. Lack of a bowel movement way back then could mean you were, not to put too fine a point on it, in the shit. Weirdly, these coronavirus days, our salutations, albeit more distant, have veered back to their old significance. We really do want to know that everyone's going well. Post-revolution, for the moment, we may be. In the eyes of COVID-19, so to speak, we're just another entity to stick its glycoprotein spikes into. All equal, free to be infected, and fraternally sharing the disease for all we're worth. Sincerely, today, I hope you're going okay. That was today's text, pretty much in the spirit of the times. As I said earlier, I went out a little while ago, and you look at people, it was like a ghost town, but occasionally there were a couple of people out walking a dog. There was a guy running, but nobody out just being out. They seem to have some sort of pretext to be out. And you either give them a large berth as though they're about to, you're either worried they're going to report you for being out or that they're going to give you the coronavirus. So it's very strange times indeed. And let me see if there's any more of these. Now, do ask me questions. How are you doing if you're watching this? How are you doing? What's happening with you? Are you staying creative in these days, or are you stuck inside not feeling particularly creative? Do you feel that being creative is a luxury at the moment, or do you find it a way of dealing with being stuck inside during these times? What did I do on this one? On this funny one of me. So there's this one of me on some sticky notes. Now, this is actually a good way of being productive. And I'll tell you what it was. It was a system that I tried. I wanted to do a bunch of things for 9 days in a row. And I wanted a system to help me do it. So I decided to use sticky notes, put 9 of them in my signature grid system. And on each of them, divided into 4. And you can see on this in the bottom left there, I wanted to drink a litre of water a day. I wanted to stop drinking coffee after 3 p.m. I wanted to not eat any crap, and I wanted to exercise every day. And I wanted to try and do it for 9 days, but I needed a system. So not only did I have my friend kind of giving me some accountability, I also had this system. And I could share the system, you see, so that made me feel I was being creative. I created a system which I could share. So it wasn't just me doing something for myself. And, well, it was fun as well. So every day that I had drunk a litre of water, I coloured in one of the quarters on that day's sticky note thing. If it was after 3 p.m. and I genuinely had stopped drinking coffee, I coloured that in. If I hadn't eaten any crap by the end of the day, I coloured that in. And if I had exercised, I coloured that in as soon as I exercised for some instant gratification. You might think it's funny, but even colouring in a little sticky note is a reward. We like it. Something's changed in our world, something visible we can see and we can show to others. So I'm a strong fan of these little systems which help us visibly for ourselves and that we can share. And when we feel we're inspiring others, that also makes us feel good and want to carry on. And I did it. That's only halfway through. I did it for 9 days. I managed to stick with it. And then I promptly didn't stick with it anymore, which is the danger. You know, you do something for it. It's like one of these fad diets. You do it for a while and then, oof, well, that was what it was. Now give me some cake. But so it was kind of that, but now it's in my mind, you see, and it's still on the wall. So it's there. It's become part of me. I know I can do it. And I'm also thinking, well, you know, it's reminding me that that's a good way. I liked doing it. So now I'm trying to drink more water and I'm trying to do exercise and so on. And I think I'll do it again as well. I'm going to do that again in a little while. Again, with some sort of accountability, not on my own. The feeling of doing something on your own is a bit sad. We do need this human connection, which is why most of the things I'm doing now, it's both creating and connecting. And connectivity is starting to be my favorite word alongside creativity, this feeling of connecting with people. So there was that. I wonder if what I wrote on that was worth sharing. Oh, it's about my Today's the Day group. Shall I share this? Today's the Day. I launched a Facebook group called Today's the Day. Yes. Yesterday it wasn't ready. Tomorrow would have been too late. Today seems just right. Like the three little bears, isn't it? I like looking at days as little lives. We're born at dawn, and at nightfall comes the call. Let's lean into that. The idea is you post a message starting with today's the day, followed by what you will do today, if you're posting in advance, or what you did today, if you're looking back. This should be one significant thing to remember. These few frail hours by, however humble it may sound, I get the feeling we don't enjoy our lives as much as we could by specifically naming something nice each day. We'll end up leading lives we love, or certainly seem to, and that feels good to me. I'm really leaning into this idea of treating a day as a life. Things seem to be different after we've woken up to when we were sleeping. And also something seems to happen when you stop being awake and you fall asleep. Something seems to happen. We almost don't seem to know what happens. It's really difficult to choose the moment we fall asleep, if you've noticed. The thing is, you don't notice, do you? The first thing you really notice after going to bed at night is waking up. It's not falling asleep. You don't notice falling asleep. So it is like a little death in a way. And waking up is like a little life, a little birth, isn't it? So why not treat each day like a little life and try to make it a good one? Try to lead a good life for that little one. And if you do that day after day after day, then our life, the big one, as we see it, with that bigger waking up at the beginning and that bigger falling asleep at the end, will also seem like a good one. And I put the symbols, you can't see them here. If I show you my group, you'll see them. It's also at the bottom. You can see at the top, there's a sun. And at the bottom, there is you can see there's a moon. And in the group, you can see that as well, in the group banner. I'll change my photograph regularly, so it's different every day. You come back, you've got a new dose of visual energy. But I'll keep the sun and the moon. The sun is symbolic of daybreak, and the moon is symbolic of nightfall, the beginning and the end of that day, of that mini life. Are you making the most of it? That's all I'm asking a question. You can't give people answers. You can't tell people to do things. You shouldn't. But by asking questions, people might end up thinking if it's worth considering that question. And you never know. They might make some decisions on that. So that's that. And I have still been creating. Now, do ask me questions if you're there. Do you have any questions for me? Ask your questions. If you're on facebook.com/sabparis, ask me a question about creativity, productivity, anything you like, and I will talk about your question. That's all I'm saying. Now, going back to some others that we've had here. I'm looking for another. I can click on this last, and I'll have some other photographs to talk to you about. How are you managing to stay creative? This is a question for you. How are you managing to stay creative these days? Are you finding it easy? Is it difficult? Do you find that it's irrelevant? There's no time to be playing around with things which don't seem to be that important? Or is for you creating new things or starting a new project or learning a new skill or persevering with an online course, for example, is this what's keeping you together in some way? How are you coping with being isolated if you are in that situation? Because some people are finding it okay, others are finding it not okay. Some people are suggesting that you should be using this time like a gift, and you should be thanking COVID-19 for giving you this time to reflect. Others are saying, don't tell me what I should be doing. If I'm just trying to keep things together and it's a tough time for me, the last thing I need is someone saying to me, you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing that. So obviously, from my point of view, I have no opinion as such. No, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I'm just saying what I'm doing. And if you want to talk about what you're doing, then that would be really interesting as well. This was last week's bunch of creativity on the photo front. If there's any of these you'd like to ask me about or have me talk about, then please feel free. That would be wonderful. And each one of these is like a gift. I don't know where it comes from. I put them together in this way. I look at them and I think, I don't know about you, when you produce something, do you come back at it and you look at it as though it had been produced by someone else, or does that not happen? Because I often find that happens with me, and I'm looking at a photograph or a painting or a poem, and I'm thinking, wow, that's interesting. I wonder what the guy was thinking at that time. So it was written by someone else or taken by someone else. And in a way it was. You can look at life as though we're not the same person from instant to instant. We're completely different. You could look at it as being completely different. This idea of looking at life as a day is interesting, isn't it? I mean, do you really believe that? I mean, this is one of my big questions at the moment. What do I believe in terms of what happened? Where were we before we were born, and where do we go? What happens after we die? That's one of my interesting questions at the moment. I'm not putting any sort of bets down. I'm not talking about any theories. I just think it's nice to think about. In fact, I'm actually moving towards believing that questions about these things which start with why are actually the wrong question. But that's another thing, isn't it? Karen says, there are so many free workshops online these days that it's almost overwhelming with all the choices to help keep busy. I'm still working on the Sketchbook Revival Challenge, but the teachers there often offered more freebies to do. Yeah. Go with the flow, do what feels right, but whatever, don't feel pressured. That's what I would say. Don't feel pressured to do anything. It may be that we have time to do things that we didn't have time to do before. Whether we have the inclination to or not is another question. There's no right or wrong as far as I'm concerned. It could be if you are in the state of mind and you feel that you have time which you can devote to doing something, great. Isn't that great? If that's not the case, then it's not the case. And look for the positive if possible, you know, but above all, try to enjoy doing what you're doing, if anything. That always sounds so crass, and yet it still comes back down to a fundamental, as I see it, fact of life. The present moment is all we ever have. Therefore, if we're not enjoying our present moment, we're not enjoying our life. I kind of reduce my entire life down to this present moment because I don't believe I have a choice. I believe that's true, that this present moment is what I should want to be doing. Otherwise, I'm not enjoying my life. But that goes for every present moment. And you can't feel that every present moment is exactly as you would like it if you're in pain, for example. But above and beyond that, mustn't we feel that I'm still okay here? I'm still all right being me in this present moment. This is part of what being me is. Because if we don't feel that most of the time, then we're not enjoying our life. So there's that. I've been at home for 46 years anyway, so it's just exciting to have so many opportunities. Right, yeah. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. It's maybe you're bound to the house in some way, Karen, I think. I've got a feeling that maybe you're not able to move or difficulties walking. So you're coming at it from a very interesting point of view. And it would be interesting to hear what has changed, you know, for you in a way which is different to what has changed for other people who are not at home, who have not been maybe housebound. I don't know what word it's politically correct to use. You say not bound, retired. Okay, all right. Well, you tell me what reflections that you have there. Questions are also very interesting. So if any of you watching do have questions, then I can even put up something that says ask questions in the chat if that would encourage you to do so. Without questions, I am just going to have to talk about any old stuff, but that's okay too. The message I would like to communicate every Sunday is that it's okay to just be me, to just be you, to just be here, to just not being here. Because isn't it nice just to, you know, I'm not into sort of, okay, everybody, let's just breathe together. Breathe in on account of, that's fine. If you like doing that, then do that. If you don't like doing that, don't do that. I just want to be me here. I just want to be me. And possibly by being me, other people will realize that they can just be them. There might come a point where I haven't got a clue what I'm going to say next. You might believe that nobody has a clue what they're going to say next. Or they don't seem to, which is also cool. But I want to kind of just turn up on a regular basis and see what happens. No changes except for the stores being closed. Okay, all right. It's a big change for a lot of us, not being able to go out to the stores we want to pubs, to listen to live music, to see our friends when we want to. That's a big change. But how much has really changed? I don't know. It's getting dark here. I'm coming to the end of this day. And my computer screen turned a little bit orange a little while ago, which means that it's decided that it's moving towards nightfall. And that's a time when we should make the light a bit more orangey. So that, why do they do that? Because we're biologically meant to start to shut down systems, get ready for sleep when the sun goes down, because we're born with bodies that were designed before we had electric lights, possibly even fire, I don't know. And the signal of the sun going down, the light gets warmer as it goes more towards the horizon, does it? And we don't like bright blue light. It makes us think we should still be awake or hunting tigers or something. So this is our modern equivalent. The light gets more orange. It's supposed to move us towards sleep. We're not supposed to be checking Facebook at 2 o'clock in the morning like I do. So should I be worried about that? The fact that I check Facebook sometimes at 4 o'clock in the morning? Worried? A lot of people would like me to be worried about it. A lot of people would probably sell me systems to sleep better. Maybe encourage me to do so, to do them, or to change my habits, offer me a free program to get my life more in balance, along with a million other programs to help me enjoy my life in other ways. And a lot of these are probably well-meaning, but I have got a little sneaky feeling that any program that is designed to help me to enjoy my life more, that I buy into, means I've got something wrong. And the thing I've got wrong is not being okay with now. That is it. I'm going to go away for a couple of minutes and I'll be back. And think about what I just said and see if you have any comments on it. Does doing any program whatsoever suggest we're not happy with where we are now in our lives? Or is it fine? Is growth and developing, I'm going to turn some lights on as well, is growth and development part of being happy now? What do you think? I'm back, everybody. Close the window, getting a little bit chilly here. Turn a couple of the lights on. If you're okay with that. So welcome back to me. I won't tell you where I went, but you can probably guess. And if you were watching earlier, ça va, as the French would say, ça va. If you can guess what that means. There's something I want to show you, which I'm hoping this will push me a little bit. And it is a bit sort of spacey spiritually, but not really either. It's just someone hitting a piece of metal. And it's that I had this itchy nose. I've got this guy, actually. I've got this guy, sort of spiritual teacher. He's really cool. I really like him. He inspired this. in a way. And so he does a satsang on Sunday nights, and I decided to do a sabsang. But one time he had a musical drum and he bonged it, and I fell in love with it. I wanted one. My life, I decided, was not complete until I had a musical drum to bong. So I got one. Hello, Ingrid. Nice to see you here. You've got another half hour of me or so. So I got this musical drum, and I haven't learnt to bong it nicely. Look. Do any of you remember this from other videos that I had before? Look. Actually, I'll make this bigger, this screen bigger. And you'll see that one day, I can't show it to you there, but it looks like this, you see. One day, how nice is that? So it's actually got the most beautiful tone. And one day, you see it's got this beautiful tone, and I don't know how to play it. So thanks to that guy, I spent money on something that I don't use. But one day, I intend to be able to play something nice on it. Some people, they use it for meditation, and it's just, they don't have a tune. It's just dong, boom, 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 and it actually sounds quite nice. I mean, it sounds beautiful. The thing with that is you can hit it and it sounds nice, which is not the case for many instruments that I've hit before. So there's that, yeah. I've kind of, without questions, I have to ramble. So if you have any questions, then I would love to talk about them. Otherwise, I can ramble, you see, that's the thing. I do seem to be able to ramble. Let's see if I've got anything here to ramble about. Apparently, my apparentlys are going well. And I'm getting pretty into my memes. I'm going kind of meme crazy at the moment. So let me show you my apparentlys. In case you missed it earlier, I've already shown you the infinity squared connective and talked about it, and my burnt pour project, which is coming up next week. I've talked about today's the day, which is where you make each day count. I've talked about my new lazy pig project, which is going to be, it's going to incite me to write short, snappy articles on creativity, productivity, infinity, and curiosity on a regular basis. And what else did I want to show you? I want to show you this, in case you haven't seen it before. It's called the Blue Room. And this has kind of got a link to creativity. Let me get rid of this. This has kind of got a link to creativity, because I was talking earlier about where creativity comes from, or how to be more creative. And I was thinking that, that's not quite right, something happened there, I have to change that. I was saying that creativity, no one's really purely creative. You have to have influences. You have to absorb some stuff. You have to consume some stuff. But if you're consuming 99.9% of the time and creating the rest, that's kind of a shame, I think. So the old expression for brides came to my mind. A bride should have something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. And I was thinking that's kind of like creativity. You need something old, so like your memories from the past, possibly, that are the things you've lived in the past. Something new, which is like inspiration, and you haven't got a clue where it comes from. Something borrowed, which would be other people's ideas. You know, influences from, you read an article, it gives you an idea for an article. You mix it around with what you've lived in your past, some new ideas, and then I was looking for blue. So if creativity can be compared to something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue, it just so happens that once upon a few months ago, I created a website called blueroom.blue, and I post blue things on it. So I've got the blue. You see, I've got the blue. I've got them. I've got them all. I can now go forth and create wonderfully. There you go, blue room. That text has changed, the blue room. It shouldn't be that text, it should be another one. So the blue room is where I publish blue things of mine or anybody else's who's got anything nice blue to share. I mean, is that nuts or is it wonderful? Not for me to say. Where do we find the grid you put the pictures in? My pictures here are on 𝗪𝗚𝗏𝗓𝗓.com. You can possibly see it up in the corner there. Oh, it's 𝗪𝗚𝗏𝗓𝗓.com. I publish a photograph with the text every day, and I arrange them in a grid of 9, just the same way as I arrange my paintings in grids of 9. And every 9 days, there's a new grid. There's also I play a game where I show you this, which is before I publish the next 9 photographs, I put this grid, which has got a black screen on, which is 90% opaque, and with some little hints. So the idea is that you can kind of see what the whole picture is, but you're tempted, I hope, to come back and look for the whole picture every day when it's created. So that's the play element, you know. There's this guy I know, and he calls himself the Playmeister, or the what is it, the Meister? No, the magician of play, or something like that. And he says we should all play more, and I totally agree. So that's one way of playing with photographs. I play with them. Okay, so you just go there, and from there you can see them all. I mean, there is an index and everything, but if you want, you can just go last, 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 or next, 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 until you get to today. And you find them all my work from the last 810 days. You can click on this, you get a big one. And you can click on this, and you get the big one with the text, but you can't really read the text. It's more just so that it exists. And you can then go down, and you can click on any photograph to get the picture big. And if you go down further, you can read the text. And that is my main photographic and written and also poetic output, because I put poems normally on here. My poems are now always published on a photograph, but then they go into the mysticrhythms.com website. Yeah, so I wanted to show you some well, my memes. I've started this thing it's a way of being creative on a very small scale. And apparently, I wanted to show you apparently as well. It's called apparently.space. And this is a type of meme. I had this idea to start creating memes, which is basically a text on something. And so I start a phrase with apparently. That's the gimmick. Every phrase has to start with apparently. And then I write something, and it's supposed to be either funny or ironic or make you think. So here, for example, just as an example, I'll show you a couple of these. They normally relate to what I'm creating elsewhere as well. It all comes into this big huge sort of sabosphere of stuff I'm creating. So the idea is, you can do this, right? You can do this. Why don't you do this? Or something similar on what you're interested in. Am I right? Yeah. My thing is this. Your thing will be something different. Or, you know, you can be inspired by me, but you will do your own thing. It has to be that way. Otherwise, you're just copying. I'm not saying you would want to copy me. I'm just saying that's what I try to avoid. That's why I'm calling this a satsang and not a satsang. Satsang existed. I used the format, but I call it a satsang. Apparently, then I write something. Mystics claim to be able to think of absolutely nothing. But who's doing the non-thinking? So that's the thing. You see, it's either a funny thing, it's an ironic thing, it's trying to point something out. Sometimes I advertise my latest creative thing, and it is what it is. That particular one is, it's actually about the mysteries, isn't it? The mysteries of life and what we are, who we are, what makes us what we are. The idea that, like in some forms of meditation, you're not supposed to be thinking about things, clouds going by, or your tummy button or anything. You're literally supposed to be thinking of nothing, which is kind of funny, isn't it? Are you thinking of nothing, or are you literally just not thinking? But the thing is, what are you? Are you your thoughts? Because if you're your thoughts and you stop having thoughts, then, oh shit, I'm out of here. I'm gone. I no longer exist. That's the funny thing, isn't it? So I'm not giving you any answers here. I'm just playing with funny ideas. And I don't stop it here. I try to make this complete in its own right, but I don't feel it's quite complete. I haven't said enough on this topic in that space, even though it's supposed to be self-contained. So secondly, on the blog and here, I add a little thing, which in this case, it says, it's a mystery to me, but come to think of it, what do you think? So that could be, what do you think about this? Or it could be more global. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Do you think something, or is something else doing the thinking and you're seeing the thoughts? You know, it gets pretty weird pretty quickly. And this is the mystery, isn't it? This is the mystery of everything. And I like playing with the mystery. I'm more and more stopping asking why. And I'm starting to just enjoy the mystery, enjoy these weird questions, enjoy the fun. Because I want to spend more time enjoying my present moments than being in utter angst over them. So you could break your head, as they say in French, over who I am. But what about spending that time thinking, I wonder what will happen, what would happen if I did this? Isn't that more kind of just a bit more chilled out than who am I? What the hell am I doing here? Why am I here? Oh God, why is my life? You know, what about if I do this? I wonder what happens. Well, I think I'll do this for a while. Another example. This is still kind of deep and meaningful. A lot of them are a lot lighter, or even poking fun at some certain ideas, but this one's a bit heavier, I think. Apparently, sharks and tortoises count in centuries. In other words, they live for centuries. I read somewhere about a shark that is apparently several centuries old. Can you believe that? And really old tortoises seem to live well over 100, seem to be able to live well over 100. So sharks and tortoises count in centuries. Butterflies only know days. Our years pass in eyelash flutters. We live longer than butterflies in general, and yet, if we're not careful, the next eyelash flutter will be the last. A tail flip, a wing flap, an eyelash bat. Moggies have 9 lives. What do you think of that? That's a bit of nonsense, but you can't take everything too seriously. If you click on this guy, he turns color. Yeah. And I did this very purely. I decided so many of my websites were mega multicolored. I thought I would try no color. So the apparently site is actually no colored. If you go to the homepage, there's no color. I was challenging myself to do something with no color. Even the fact that these names here come up with color wasn't desired. It's just the way the site works. There you see, no color, except for create your menu here, which isn't there when you look at it. That's because I'm signed in. I tried to sign out. So I thought it was quite fun, but I was missing color. So I thought, okay, I'll include a color version of these things. So you click here, now in Fabulous Technicolor, and you do get a colored version of the guy and a little colored rainbow down there. For those of you who like color, nevertheless. And I wanted to talk about another thing that I've done recently. We've got about 10 minutes left, and then I'll call it a day. Please ask questions if you would like to. The idea of this is that it's an interactive thing, questions and answers, or questions and responses to questions, I should say, with me sharing my creative stuff talking about it, and hopefully stimulating you to be creative if you'd like to be. But you don't have to be, and it doesn't matter if you're not. It's honestly just a being together in a nice positive spirit. And if things happen, they happen. And if they don't, they don't. And it's just a way of spending some time nicely. Yeah, so going back to my Facebook page, I have decided I've started doing these funny little cards. And if I go down far enough, I'll find one. That's me introducing today's today. I started a new thing as well, sharing my favorite music. Music is one thing I don't produce for the moment, but I love consuming. So I've decided I don't see why I should be the only one suffering my favorite music. So I've decided to put, let's say, 3 songs up a week, which I love. Songs, music you listen to, they're in your creations. They're there, even if you don't explicitly create music, or music isn't your creation. The music you're listening to as you create is part of the creation. That's another meme I do. It's memes on photographs. It's another way. It's like recycling my photographs. I sometimes don't do it. I do a big text, but sometimes when I have an idea for a little pithy phrase or something, I'll stick it on one of my photographs, and it is what it is, but it's another way of passing the time and maybe touching others, who knows. I'm trying to get to my little card, my funky little card. There we go. So this is a new thing. I've always liked business cards, because whenever I have a new idea in the past, I would create a cheap business card, buy a ton of them because they're cheaper if you buy more, get them, be excited for about 3.5 minutes, and then get a new idea and be stuck with these cheap, crappy business cards that I'm not using. But the other side of the business card was empty. They were so cheap. So I thought, okay, I am going to do lots of interesting things with business cards. So I do. It's one of my things. So I play around with pens. You see, I'm not an artist. The closest I get to art is copying Facebook emojis, which is good enough for me. And, oh, what's it called, that instrument? This instrument, sorry, I'm just going to answer one of my viewers. This instrument, can you see? So this instrument here, it doesn't sound nice when I play it like that, because I should be sitting down. This instrument is called a rav drum. They're sometimes called, hang on a second. They're sometimes called hang drums, except this is a specific type. This is like a tongue cut in the metal. You see, they're all tongues. They've been cut here. So it's a specific type of pan drum or hang drum or whatever they want to call them. You know those African drums where they've hammered dents into the metal of different sizes, and that makes them have different notes. It's the same principle. And one day I will play some nice little tune for a few seconds, but it ain't going to be today. Yeah, so these little cards here are a fun way to spread some positivity, I hope, or a bit of humor sometimes. Get off. I don't know who all these people are. I ought to stop accepting anyone as friends. I shouldn't have said that, really, should I? If you're one of my friends there, I love you very, very much. It's just I don't recognize everyone, that's all I'm saying. Yeah, so I mean, how do we lead our lives meaningfully? What's the point of joining a group called Today's the Day? What do we say in Today's the Day? How can we do things regularly every day that we think are worth remembering? Well, this is a way. Little backs of business cards or some similar size of thing, make a little saying, make a little note that you want to remember. There's a really nice thing I learned once, and that was, once you've talked to someone, every time you talk to someone, when you say goodbye, write down the one thing you want to remember from that conversation. It could be a little, gem. What's a nugget, that they told you, or an idea that you had, or just something you want to remember. You want to remember lovely coffee with so and so in the such and such a coffee shop. So that's nice, isn't it? That's a really nice thing to do. And you will remember gems that you would have forgotten otherwise. And I think you also appreciate moments more. This is something that I'm doing that with this, actually. When an idea comes to me, I see if it could be summed up with a couple of keywords and like up to 10 words on a little card. And then I do this. The reason I'm doing these, I've done 4 now. I don't really have them near me, do I? Doing 4. I've done 4, and I could do 4 million for all I know. What was I going to say? Yeah, I did it just because someone told me one. I thought, oh, that's good. I wrote it down and I showed them. And I thought, oh, that's nice. And then I took a photo, and then I said, well, I'll post it. And then I posted it in my Facebook thing here, page. And all of a sudden, quite a few people said they liked it. Whereas normally no one ever says anything, or I get one comment on something I've slaved over creatively for days. So I thought, oh, fair enough. Who am I to argue? They seem to like that, so I'll do another one. And people seem to like these short, snappy little aphorisms or whatever you want to say, especially if they're positive. They're not too cliched, and they come from someone they know. And I've got my mug in the picture for what it's worth. I mean, I am me, so I don't feel too embarrassed about putting myself in the picture. And people like to see you as well. They know you. So if you put you in the picture, it's not just an anonymous thing. I could just have taken a picture of that and people would have said, yeah, whatever, another stupid meme. But I'm kind of there. It's me what did it. I coloured in the letters. 54-year-old man colours in letters with felt tips. And that kind of counts for something, doesn't it? Kind of counts. It kind of makes you you. Or you do whatever you want to do, and that'll be you, and people will know it's you, and they'll like seeing you being you. So that's a new one. That's fun. I like that. I don't know how long it'll last. The thing is, when we often put rules on, we say, I'm going to do it for 10 days in a row, or 100 days, and then they stop after 7 days, and that's it. They've ruined it. I'm not going to do it anymore. I failed. No, you can do it the next day. You don't have to do it every day. If it's something you like doing, it happened with my photographs. I liked it so much, I ended up doing it every day, but you don't have to. I like doing these, but I don't feel the urge to do them every day. I'm not going to fail if I don't do one today, but I might do one tomorrow. So this series is kind of hopefully regular, but it doesn't matter if not. My photographs is kind of religious. For me, I would have failed if I haven't done one every day. That's my thing right now. That might change, but it's me deciding that's what I want to do. Nobody's telling me that I've failed, and I haven't really. If I'm creating, the closest I get to a definition of failure is if I've not tried something, I haven't created something recently that I consider a creation. It's not even, that's not even failure. So let me see if I can find another one. This is my feed, my Facebook feed, which is public. I put everything here. I mean, I don't put my most intimate details. It's just everything that I create, I've decided to put here, as well as other places. But if you want to see everything I do, I try to put everything here. Ba-bum, ba-bum. I want to get to another one of those little things before we go. This is Morrissey's latest song. A really good one. Once I Saw the River Clean. I was thinking about that because at one point he was accused of something racist or something like that. And then I saw a thing today where, what's her name? J.K. Rowling, who millions of people love for Harry Potter, one of the richest women in the world, was accused of being oh God, what was it? turn or something, turn, trans exclusive radical feminist. So a TERF. She'd put up some post and someone in the comments said something like, well, I don't really like what this TERF has to say. I thought, TERF? What's a TERF? So apparently at some point she said something about something. And I was thinking about that with Morrissey, you know, because at some point he said something about something and there was a sort of minor scandal. Maybe a bit like when the Beatles, John Lennon said that they were bigger than, the Beatles were bigger than God or something. And it was in a certain context at a certain time and he had to explain himself. And I was just thinking about that. But anyway, absolutely beautiful piece of music. If you don't like Morrissey, that's fine. If you do, that's fine. I just want to share it. I want a place where I can share the music I love, because it's so important. So everything is here, everything, almost. And I want to get to another of my little thingies. I've decided to focus on Facebook, you know, forget Twitter and everything. This was toilet art from someone, amazing. There we are, there's another one. This is a little bit insulting to Facebook. It says, create first, throw your entire life away. No, sorry, check Facebook second. But, you know, hey, go with the times. I've almost sold my soul to Facebook, so for what it's worth. This one here, I said in the comment, I said, also available in a rainbow free version. No, it doesn't say that here, but I had another comment. It said, also available in a rainbow free version if you don't like colorful language. This is inciting people to do something worthwhile today. You see, it's the same thing. And that's a photograph. Hey, it's been ages since I did. There we are. Oh, hallelujah. Total chaos is the new Zen. So for what it's worth, you know, little throwaway comments or sometimes profound. I was just seeing people changing the way they are in these times, going with the flow, and seeing people trying to do things at home with kids on their lap and, you know, other things happening. Reminds me of an advert where you see this guy. I don't know what it was for, but he's on the he's on his laptop and he's got a jacket on and he's saying something. Yeah, okay then. So we'll arrange a meeting about that on Friday. And it looked like he was being very professional in his office. Then the camera zooms out and he's got a pair of shorts on and he's moving his kid's toy train with his foot as he's playing with her. And that was kind of ideal, wasn't it? Oh yeah. But in reality, it ain't like that. It really ain't. I spent some time recently on a call talking with someone, a lady, doing some coaching type talk, and half the time she had a child's head up her jumper. So anyway, all right, so there's one, and I think there was another one as well somewhere. No, that was maybe the first. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to call it a day. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you enjoyed any little part of this that you tuned into to share with me. That's what it's about. It's about sharing. And I will do the same thing again next week because it's fun, talking about my creations and talking about your questions. And again, the topic of this was, what did I call it? When I give it a title, it'll be my first introductory little chat, and then we can go wherever you like. But it was, how do you get really good at something? And the answer, if you remember, was very, very simple. Do it. Do it, do it, do it. So that's it. I think someone has just joined. Well, you're going to see me saying goodbye. And you've got 2 hours of this to watch on the replay if you dare, if you really don't have anything else to do. And I'll see you again soon, folks. Back on Facebook land, back in Sabland. You go back to your land, and that's all for now. Have nice rest of evenings or rest of days or tomorrows, wherever you are. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.